Hey guys, back on the Trailblazer, or at least part of it. This is a transmission we pulled, by we I mean my daughter and I, pulled out of a junkyard. A local U-pull it here, had a little bit of body damage, a little front end damage, so fingers crossed that it was there because of some other issues and not because like the transmission died and they decided to scrap the car. Don't know for sure, but hoping this is a working transmission we can plug back in. But when they get these cars in at the junkyards, they drain all the fluids out of them. Since I got to put new fluid in, I'm going to go ahead and service this and take the pan off, do a quick inspection, change the filter, change the gasket, do just a minor servicing on it before we stick it back in. That stuff's fairly cheap. It's weird doing it out of the car. I've done that where you just drop the pan out. So I'm going to kind of got this propped up here, and we're going to pop this pan down, drain the whatever fluid is left in it. There isn't much. Let's get after it. Okay, so kind of like when we pull it off on the car, I want to take out I don't know how much is in here, so I'm just going to drop this pan. I should get a thing to hold these screws, just in case I need them. Because every time I assume I don't need them, that's when I do. Okay, I think that's all of them. So the three up here in the front, I just sort of loosened. And take them out, just loosen them up a little bit. Oh. Let's see if we can get this to drop. There we go. Oh, I forgot. That bracket's in the way. There we go. Okay, there's not that much fluid in there, so I'll go ahead and take the other ones off. I got most of it out. There's a little in there, but not much. So there's the pan. It does have some material in it, and I'm not a big fan of that. But it's better than the other one was. So, and it doesn't have chunks of stuff in it like the original one did. I don't know. What you think, guys? I'm going to put it back together, but I think it'll work. It's a lot of work putting these things in it now. but it's all I got, so we're going to give it a whirl. So we're going to take this filter off, and this just usually pops. It's just on the friction, kind of a rubber gasket thing. I usually just kind of work it loose. There you go. Got the rest of the fluid out that was in there. Actually, the fluid in the filter actually looks pretty good. Pretty clear. It's brown, but that's not too worrisome for me. I don't know if it should be, but it's not. All right, so now that I have the pan removed and filter out and all that, I thought, as I was doing this, I thought this was about easier. Roll this over on the side, then you can see kind of what the underneath looks like. It'd be a lot easier than trying to do it from inside the truck. Or from underneath the truck. So that filter connects right into this hole here. There's a gasket in there. It's got a little rubber seal on it, and I think those are rather difficult to get out, and back in. And the filter was sealed pretty good, so I think I'm going to reuse that and just leave it, and just put the new filter in. But I want to get this gasket material off of the edge. You got to be careful. You can really gouge this with, if you use something like a razor blade or something like that. So just want to be careful not to score it. You want a nice smooth edge on it. You also don't want any of that stuff flying inside here. So you can do it with a scraper, with a razor blade. You just gotta be real careful. It is a rubber gasket, the new one. And so it'll form a little. It's a little more forgiving than a fiber gasket would be, but still. This stuff is not going to be very, you know, seal friendly anymore. Now I'm doing this way to show you. I'm not going to scrape all that off up top and have it fall down in. So I will rotate this around, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing here with the scraper. So I will kind of finish this up on my own and bring you guys back in. Let's see here, we got this cleaned up, and I got the old pan from the old transmission mostly cleaned up. I'm trying to get the outside as clean as I could, but make sure at least get the inside clean. I took the magnet out to clean it off on its own, so I kind of put that back in its spot and put the filter in. And we have the new gasket. The new gaskets are rubber. The old ones are fiber. That's how they get stuck here, is they kind of just bond to the aluminum. So if you had a rubber gasket on there already, that would be a lot easier to remove. But we'll get the filter on. And so just kind of take a little bit of the fluid here, just to give it a little bit of lubricant. And then it just sort of pushes in. Not sure how I know if it's in there all the way, to be honest. It seems to be bottomed out. I think I got it in all the way. From what I've read, it's not generally recommended to put like RTV or something on this to hold this gasket in place, but it is kind of flimsy, I'll admit. There we go. Just kind of put some of the screws, some of the bolts in, and let's not do that so they don't fall into the oil like I usually do. The holes in the gasket appear to be slightly smaller than the bolts, so you can use the bolt to kind of hold the gasket and the gasket to hold the bolt, which is kind of handy. So I'll put a few in, kind of one somewhere in the middle, and then the corner, if there is a corner. Some of them wrap around the corner. Again, that just keeps the gasket kind of in place. Mount it up there. See, this corner goes here, that corner goes there. And normally you would do this upside down, which would make this actually a little easier. I'm doing this kind of the hard way, going sideways, but I just thought it'd be easier to see here. So if push come to shove, when I get this back up in the car, I can always take it back down and redo it. I just want to get a couple started here so that it won't fall on me. Then I'll get the rest of them in. I use a degreaser and an SOS pad on the outside, which took off a little bit of the surface rust and corrosion. Not really rust, I guess, but some of the surface corrosion, which is kind of nice. And it's super easy and way cheaper than using a whole bunch of brake clean or carb clean or any of that stuff. That stuff can get a little expensive because it goes through really fast. You know, you spend, I don't know, what's a box of SOS pads cost these days? I don't even know. I'm saying it like it's going to be cheaper than degreaser or anything like that, and I don't actually have any idea if it's cheaper. Once you get them all in, we're going to go tighten them in a pattern. And again, this is pretty soft metal, so I wouldn't use anything with a lot of force to it. Okay, so they're all in. I'll just get them tightened. Now when you tighten these, you want to tighten them kind of in a star. I think it goes zigzagging like this. So you work your way kind of inside out. So just want to snug them. Okay, now get the torque specs and get my torque wrench and get them tighten where they're supposed to be. Torque spec is 7 to 10, so 80, I think it was 89 to 100 and something inch-pounds. So I'm just gonna go to 9, just to be on the safe side. So same thing, kind of go in a, okay, hey, you stay there. Just the last check, because I've kind of been talking too much, not paying attention to what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, that's it. Now you'd obviously fill it back with fluid, but it's not in the car. And I'll fill it with fluid once you get it in the car. So that's the next step, is to get it installed, but we got to clear the garage out here and push the Trailblazer back in and fight with that. I know that wasn't super deep. It wasn't a very long video. This is actually a pretty short process. And it's actually a lot easier to do from underneath than it is like this, but it's just easier to see this way. So I thought maybe that would help. Anyway, I hope it did. Next step is to get it in the car. So fingers crossed. Man, I hope this thing works. I don't do all this for nothing. But anyway, we'll see you next time.